Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about a few things. As you guys know, the type of person that I am, I feel the need, the want to always express myself to you guys because I want to be an open book. So you guys are not having like this guessing game with me when it comes to me either creating content or the decisions that I make for the YouTube channel to do certain things. Now, the stuff that I'm going to say right now, it's not really going to hit that specific audience where they would kind of need to see this video in regards to picking at my brain and how I do certain things. But I'm going to make this video so that you guys know where my head is at for future videos, okay? So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is going to be how I do the player reviews. So a lot of people have a really big issue with me doing one player game reviews, whether it's you're not able to tell what a player is like after one game, or you're not using the right chemistry style on the card, or you're not using him in the right position of the card. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys, okay? After all the years that I've played FIFA, I've always been like this even before the player reviews, okay? If people remember my streams from FIFA 15 when I actually used to play the game more consistently, there used to be times in my streams, right, where I would have that full meta concept with each individual team that I made. So I'd have like 8 different teams, 9 different teams, something like that, right? From different leagues and whatnot. And my goal was to make the players move or to behave as full meta as possible, even if they themselves were not full meta cards. So what would happen is that during some streams, I would take literally 3 hours building the squad because every single variable of the pitch was important. And I would be the exact same right now if the game was actually set up in a way that I would actually enjoy it, because you guys know that I don't enjoy the way it's set up, right? So when it comes to player reviews, I promise you guys, back in the day in FIFA 15, I used to play one game and I used to tell my chat, these 4 players I'm taking out of my team. Because when I make a new team, right, I can't, my brain, this is completely down to personal experience. I don't expect you guys to agree with this, but I am not lying to you guys, right, when I'm doing a player review. The way that the player feels after that one game, maximum 2 games, he never feels different to me afterwards, right? Like, when I do player reviews on João Felix and I say how I don't like him in the striker position, how I like him more in the cam position, he's just a wasted striker, I still feel like that to this day, right? Ansu Fati's Player of the Month card. I'm pretty sure, I can't even recall, you guys can go check this if you want, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned how I don't like using him in the left attacking mid, right attacking mid position on bounce instructions without free roam, because I just don't like the way that he moves there. And it's the same case nowadays. Now, don't get me wrong, with the current team that I have, you guys know that I barely play on my main account, right? The way that this team is set up, I have Ansu Fati and Dembele set up on the sides, right? So I was trying out João Felix on the sides. I didn't like him there, right? Because I love him in that cam position. It's just that's just for me personally. I'm not saying that João Felix is not going to make a good striker. He's not going to make a left or right or good or left or right attacking mid, because player reviews and how you experience a game is different for everybody, right? So, with this team, I have Ousmane Dembele on the left, Ansu Fati on the right, with João Felix playing in the cam position, because that's the best position I see him being used in. Why do I use players that I don't specifically like in those positions for this team? The answer for that is literally because that's the way that my team is set up. I wouldn't use Rashford anywhere else because he has that meta characteristic up top in the striker position, and João Felix has a great meta characteristic in the cam position. But I do not like using João Felix in the striker position, right? So it's hard to test out formations like the 4-3-1-2 or the 4-4-2, because the way that he moves off the ball from base characteristic, if you guys can go check my rare gold review or the inform card for João Felix, he has this base characteristic of moving to the side, and then he does go back into the middle, but he doesn't do it consistently enough in the striker position. Rashford, however, is different. He's very consistent for the price that you are paying for. That's why he's that baby or mid-tier oriented meta card, because of that way that he moves on the pitch. João Felix personally does not do that for me, right? But it doesn't mean that he'll play bad in the striker position, because this is all based off of personal preference. This is my experience, what I'm sharing with you guys when I'm trying out these cards, right? So when I try cards out for one game, I don't expect a large majority of the community to agree with me, but I literally do not require maximum more than 2 games, guys. For instance, let's take a look at Coquelin's card, right? So with Coquelin's card, when I was reviewing this card, the first game was not enough for me, right? And the reason why it wasn't enough for me is because I was initially using him as a man-mark CDM, and I hated man-mark on him. I was like, this doesn't make any sense, because if you take a look at a card like this, with the Shadow Chemistry style, he has all the right things to be a good CDM, so why is he not performing well in game? And sometimes you'll catch those things right away. Coughlin was one of those guys. I had to try him out for another game. This rarely happens, right? But it just didn't make sense for how he was performing the first game. Switched him to the cup pass lanes from the beginning, and then I realized, you know what, this is actually a pretty solid card for what he offers in game and whatnot, right? And that's one of those cards where I need more than one game. But let's just say, for instance, the freeze cards, right? There was the freeze cards where I reviewed these guys, right? So obviously there's the foot freeze SBCs. So a lot of the cards that EA release, guys, they don't fit the criteria of how this game is made, but obviously when I do the player reviews, sometimes I like to call these cards concept cards, right? Where I think that they're good in the game, but they won't offer you that full capability of being a solid player in the game. But I have like a very good feeling with what every card feels like in game from the first game. And like I said, I don't agree with you guys. I don't agree. I don't expect you guys to agree with me on this. But here's what I will say, right? I feel like personally, this is just from me, okay? I feel like personally, I can give you guys a fast review, right? The moment the SBC comes out with solid information. It's not information that I expect everybody to agree with, but that solid information is based off of my personal experience of using the card, right? If I use João Felix in the cam position, it doesn't mean that you guys are not going to like him in the striker position, because you know why? Completely personal preference based, right? It doesn't mean that you guys are not going to like Dembele or Ansu Fati on the balance instruction than the left and right attacking mid. I'm just telling you what I feel like a card's full capabilities are in certain positions, so that when you are making your team, you can kind of think of each individual variable as much as you possibly can. But I'm telling you guys this right now, I do not require more than 2 games. 1 game is usually the one I usually need, but sometimes cards are weird. Like Coughlin, I had to try him out one more because it just didn't feel right for me, right? Okay. Something that has opened my mind to different capabilities is Japes, because he used Anderson Talisca as a center mid, and my brain at the time never registered using a card like Anderson Talisca in that center mid position, because when I see someone like Talisca, I see him, okay, mostly striker, mostly cam, and whatever. Japes has actually opened up different variables in my head where it's like, you know what? If I get a specific card, I feel like he can actually play well in the center mid position. For instance, Ansu Fati is actually kind of nice in the center mid position, but he's nice as a more attacking oriented player, right? He doesn't have any defensive stats. It's really nice to use players like Renato Sanchez in that center mid position. High work rates, good attacking stats, good defensive stats, great dribbling on and off the ball, right? Dribbling off the ball is doing this, left and right transitioning. His body doesn't affect the way that he moves across the pitch with the pace that he has and a lot of other variables too, right? And Kevin De Bruyne, another a very good example. That card moves in a specific way on the pitch, playing next to somebody else that a lot of players just don't do. And I did this for the team of the group stage variation of his card, and it's very noticeable. The way I was even analyzing run the foot markets Kevin De Bruyne, and I think in his like 4-1-2-2 or 4-4-2 formation, and I kept telling him, I'm like, dude, the way that Kevin De Bruyne is moving across the pitch is what's literally scoring some opportunities for you, right? And when I tried him myself from the team of the group stage, I'm like, oh, this is what he feels like. He has that specific attacking AI. So with Kevin De Bruyne, it would be really good to use him as a more attacking-oriented center mid with someone like Renato Sanchez who offers you both, and then you have that solid defensive presence in the middle, whether that's a high work rated player or preferably a medium high work rated player, but it really depends on you, right? Because again, really based off of personal experience. Now, let's take a look at some of the criterias that makes me analyze and understand a card mostly before I even review him, right? So I'll give you guys some surprising factors, right? As you guys know, last year, I wasn't necessarily a fan of Varane's card. Like, even when I packed his Team of the Season card, if you guys watch those pack openings from those guaranteed Team of the Season SBCs, I'm like, oh, that's a good card to pack, but I personally don't really like him that much. And the reason why I didn't like Varane's card that much is because even from the Team of the Season version of the card, right? The Team of the Season version of the card, if I could just do this, This version of the card has 47 balance, 68 dribbling with 78 agility. There was a lot of people that really liked this card, right? But this card for me, even when I was checking them out, I was like, this card's going to be like a 50-50 dude for sure. I think I may have even said that during the review at the time, right? But again, my reviews are oriented around how to fully utilize card to the best of its potential. With a card like Varane, those three stats for last year's gameplay, for me personally, affected the card too much from him performing really well in the game. Personal preference, right? If you got someone like, a Diego Carlos, this card, this card last year, he just made a lot of sense, right? Because if you take a look at the FIFA 20 variation of this card playing as a team of the season card, Diego Carlos team of the season. So this one right here, if you take a look at this card, guys, with the shadow chemistry style, what are you going to say that's bad about this card, right? What is there to say that's bad? Like this, cards like this are guaranteed good players in the game. Medium high work rates, defense, physical, pace, great dribbling stats to transition left and right and to dribble well on the ball. He's got 96 short passing, which is the one you use mostly, right? And then he's got 78 long passing. Okay, he can shoot and he doesn't have the specific passing stats, but it's a center back. We're not going to look at it from like 100% point of view. This card is absolutely ridiculous. And for me, I preferred him over the team of the season Varane, and sometimes over the flashback Eder Militao at the time, right? Okay, let's talk about cards this year, okay? With Aouar's card, people were... I'm going to bring up the cards that some people got upset at when I was reviewing them, right? So with Aouar's card, EA changed him to the striker position, right? For me personally, where I like to analyze attacking AI is as a lone striker and as a cam, because I can kind of see whether or not they would play well from a personal experience as a secondary striker, or if they have that right attacking AI to move well up top in the striker position, right? Because there is a certain criteria that I need a player to meet for me for him to react a certain way attacking AI wise in certain positions. There's certain areas where cards decide to not be aggressive, or they start to be more conservative, and it doesn't make these cards bad in these situations. Like again, with Aouar, you can definitely use him in the cam position, but it wasn't a personal preference of mine. Where I felt like I could fully utilize a card like this was, again, not in the striker position, which I totally should have reviewed him there, but because my mind sees these cards in a certain way, I didn't even bother trying him out there, which in the future definitely will, obviously. But when I use a card like this, I think at the time with a Hunter chemistry style in the center mid position as my more attacking oriented player. Again, Japes has opened up this avenue to me when it comes to reviewing these types of cards. Man, I loved using him in the center mid position. I thought the way that he was moving across the pitch was absolutely brilliant. If I played this card in that center mid area with the attacking AI that felt better in that area than he did in the attacking areas, and then I had that attacking and defensive player like Ronaldo Sanchez to give him that nice little League One link, it's a great card, right? Like for 127K, it was pretty solid. I was disappointed that they didn't give him defensive stats, but people were mostly looking at it from a perspective of like, hey, Inception, why don't you use him mostly in the striker and cam position? And again, I'm just going to tell you guys that from my personal experience, I didn't want to use him there. I think at the end of the review, I even mentioned with Aouar that with the engine chemistry style, using him in that center mid position is definitely a preferred thing for me. And it's funny because even when I tried out some people's accounts to do player reviews, it was a very similar situation where when I used Aouar's card, and for the sake of the review, I used him up top of the striker. I thought he played it well, but when I moved him to that center mid spot, it just played significantly better for me. Again, this is completely down to personal preference. What I say, guys, is not the gospel, okay? I'm not God. I'm not the person where it's like, yo, Inception said this is exactly what it's going to be, right? It's completely down to opinion. Some of my mods, like they'll even tell me like, oh, I didn't agree with this. Jordy, I have like just funny like conversations with him where I'm like, man, like I got Royce over here and Payne that don't like Mbappe, but then I got Jordy over here that likes Van Basten. Like, what are we doing over here? Perfectly fine. And I'm just joking with you guys, but those are the types of cards that I don't see as hitting that full meta criteria, but can be good in their own ways. The Mbappe thing, like, is so weird to me, but I'm not gonna hate someone for saying how, you know what, bro, you must be terrible at the game for you not to like Mbappe. Like, that's just not the case, because everybody's experience of playing this game is different, and if they don't like specific cards, then they don't like specific cards. For me personally, I use Mbappe for icon swaps. The first 5 minutes, I did the review for him too, I'm pretty sure, but the first 5 minutes I put him in my icon swaps team. Please, the meta characteristics are like, I didn't even have a chemistry style on the guy, and I was just like, look at the way this card move. I could put him anywhere, any of the attacking positions, side positions, striker, it doesn't matter. This card is literally a godsend for this game, right? But again, this is completely down to personal preference, right? But I'm trying to allow you guys to pick up my brain a little bit, right? Another card that we reviewed was if I can get to the SBC freeze cards, which, hey man, Footbin's amazing for all this kind of stuff, right? We'll go to freeze, and then we'll go to the version for foot freeze. And then we have a player like, where's the Brazilian dude? João Victor, right? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys about different types of players when I review and what I do with them to try them out, right? Okay, let's look at a card like this, right? Let's just look at it from a point of view where you guys don't even need to watch my review, because some of you that watch my reviews enough, you know exactly what I'm going to say about a card before I even review them, okay? With a card like João Victor, there are certain variables with this card that you'll still notice in game no matter what, right? Like, this is what I call a concept card. But concept cards doesn't necessarily mean that they would be bad. Some of them are actually pretty good. Like, this João Victor card is pretty cool. The price of the SBCs we'll talk about in a bit here, right? But when I did the review for this card, I gave him an engine chemistry style, I believe, right? And when I gave him the engine chemistry style, the reason why I gave him the engine chemistry style is to see if I can boost his dribbling capabilities enough while giving him that extra pace, which I feel like is mostly important if you play him in the striker position because of the way that the game kind of plays out, right? But I wanted to test out his shooting capabilities, and some people got upset. Like, this review is pointless because Inception didn't use the marksman chemistry style, right? Which would make a lot of sense. You know, you give him the dribbling boost, you give him the shooting boost, as well as the physical boost with plus 10 strength, but then you're lacking in the pace department with 92 acceleration, 87 sprint speed, which is not terrible, but you have to play the game a little bit more in a specific way for you to fully utilize a card like this, which is perfectly fine, because with a marksman, the card's actually pretty decent in game, because boosting his shooting as much as possible with the 5-star weak foot is really nice. And I'm talking this way, but I'm pretty sure if you guys watched the review, I said the exact same thing, right? At the end of the video, like, hey guys, you know, I tried him out with the engine chemistry style because I want to test out his base characteristics from the dribbling stats that he has and the shooting stats that he has. In specific areas, 89 finishing with 86 shot power, it's too low. For the way that the game plays out, for you to have that like meta capability of being able to shoot some specific opportunities, you can definitely score these opportunities, but you have to work the angles a little bit more, right? So I was like, you know what, guys, it would make sense to give him the marksman because I feel like he needs that shooting boost for you to be able to fully utilize that weak foot. Sorry guys, just had to help out my dad with something. But yeah, that's what I felt was João Victor's card, right? So at the end of the video, guys, the important thing is that I still mentioned that the marksman chemistry style makes the most sense for the card. But, you know, stuff like his medium work rates as well as his attacking eye, it's not like crazy good, but it's decent because, you know, if he had like high, low or high, medium, I think he'd move across the pitch a little better based off of his base characteristics. Now, this is not always the case with cards. You know, if you take a look at R9's card, and obviously this is a crazy example because he's freaking amazing in this game, right? But R9 has medium work rates. Even this version, I can't even confirm the prime version because I never tried that version, right? But this version right here has the medium low work rates, right? And I was using this on my boy Payne's account. And with this card, right, on an engine chemistry style, he has all the base characteristic of essentially being a perfect card. The medium-low work rates with him is irrelevant because his 96 attacking positioning in game is already really good. The way that this card moves across the pitch is completely meta-based. The way that he utilizes empty space is also completely meta-based. You know, move to the side, go back into the middle, cut certain lanes once I'm dribbling in certain ways with my other attacking players, stuff like that. So, you know, he's one of those cases where the medium-low work rates doesn't really affect the card as much. When it comes to reviewing cards, okay, guys? When it comes to reviewing cards on this channel, again, I don't expect you guys to agree with it, right? Let's just take a look at someone like, okay, we could take a look at Thorgan Hazard, right? Before I use this Thorgan Hazard card in the game, I'm going to tell you guys how I feel towards him, right? Now, for me, I feel like for you to be able to fully utilize someone's dribbling in this game, all of the dribbling stats needs to hit 99s for him to dribble well in the game. Not 99, excuse me. They all have to be at a bare minimum of 90. 99 is crazy. But they all have to be at a bare minimum of 90 so that you can compensate for whatever the gameplay is like. So, you know, the player like Thorgan Hazard, most people were giving him the Hawk or the Hunter, right? But if you were to give him the marksman chemistry style, you would be missing the pace aspect of the card. So a card like this would make more sense to use in the middle because you wouldn't need the pace as much through the middle if he's playing as your cam with his high medium work rates and 85 stamina, stuff like that. But, you know, if you want to use them on the sides, you know, a Hawk chemistry style, a Hunter chemistry style makes the most sense because you need that pace to have on the sides. And this is not you need, it's just what I'm saying that I need when I have these cards in the game, right? So with Thorgan Hazard, I'm pretty sure, yet again, I said the exact same thing, but he was still kind of a weird card for me. And the reason being for this is because I always feel like, I would say like 85 or 90% of the times, a player's base characteristics always transfers over to the improved versions of cards. So with this Thorgan Hazard card over here, you know, I use this card with a Hunter chemistry style, and his dribbling just wasn't really up for me, you know what I'm saying? But for some people, they really liked using the Thorgan Hazard card in the beginning of the year and really, really enjoyed him, actually. But it's just one of those things that I didn't see eye to eye with people, which is fine. You know, everyone has their own experience with using cards. And I felt like that experience kind of transferred over to this version of the card. But like I said, with a marksman, he definitely can play that cam and striker position really well if you want to have fun with him in the game, because obviously with the improved shooting, the improved dribbling stats, he'll be able to move across the pitch a little better. I'm trying to think of some like other variables. Okay, so let's talk about the price of the SBC. So some of the SBCs, we don't talk about the price of the SBC because the way that I view the game is not necessarily from a full meta perspective. Now, the price of the SBC and whether or not an SBC is worth it, it really depends on the type of content that EA actually has within the game itself. Now, I'll give you guys an example. If we go to squad building challenges right now and we search through the SBCs, you can see that right now EA has removed these types of SBCs, that is the 81 to 87 or 89 plus or 88 plus, whatever that is, right? Those SBCs make the price of these SBCs significantly better. But the variable that exists that people don't talk about enough is the price of the SBCs when these types of things don't exist. That's a big, huge variable to consider when it comes to making these cards. You know, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to go in 2 hours, so you had to do it during that time period, right? With players like Roberto Firmino, he has 15 days left, and there is another promo coming up. So if EA were to re-release those types of SBCs in the game, it's not as bad for Roberto Firmino. Roberto Firmino is actually a good player to talk about when it comes to price, because if we take a look at Roberto Firmino's card, he is a full meta oriented card that plays in the CDM position or center mid position with a 5-star skill move capability with a Hunter or Shadow chemistry style is really good. People were super against the price. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you guys when it comes to Roberto Firmino's card, okay? So, the price of the card for being a full meta card that, in my opinion, you are going to use for the rest of the year is not bad, right? Because during that time period, they did have those specific SBCs where you can build towards the Firmino card if you can utilize the market well enough. I don't like utilizing the market that much because for me, you guys know how I stand with this. Like, I don't buy the game to do market stuff, but then for YouTube content, I know you guys like it, so I can still tell you some things you can do to fully utilize it, right? But with Roberto Firmino's card, people will look at this card and be like, oh, the price range of the card is too expensive. Yes, the price range of the card is expensive for an untradeable player, but this is a player that you will use for the entire year because of what he offers in the game. 5-star skills, first off, is one of the most important things in the game this year. If you can have 5-star skills for every single position of the pitch, everyone would try to do that because there are certain skill moves that come off that are really, really important to use. Example, the scoop turn. Scoop turn is absolutely massive in this game, right? And there's a few others as well to give you that little bit of extra acceleration because it's kind of how FIFA works in regards to dribbling and whatnot, right? But with Roberto Firmino, there was the variable of them having those specific SBCs in the game where you had the 81s to 87s and whatnot, and you could build towards the SBC. Now, why is the price terrible? The price is terrible because the way that the game is set up, right? If you don't utilize the market and you are strictly doing gameplay stuff like you literally would doing anything else, our community is very different to the gaming community because people play the game to get the stuff, whereas we like to be in the menus more than to actually play the game, which I never liked, but it is what it is, right? But Roberto Firmino's card, if you do the gameplay stuff, he's 867k. You don't have a variable of consistently getting coins and packs and having the untradable pile to be able to grind towards a card like this if you don't currently have the coins and you don't want to sit your free time on a chair and do menu stuff. That's just how it is. That's why people thought it was expensive. Generally speaking, the card makes sense for the price because he's full meta. He's a full meta midfielder, okay? But in that variable of whether the card is an expensive SBC for the untradable aspect, that also exists too. So it's one of those really weird ones, right? So the card's pretty good though, man. In the CDM position, I liked him. To be honest, I like Bruno Fernandes more in that area, but to each their own personal preference-wise. You guys know that I'm not biased towards Portuguese players because if a Portuguese player sucks, I'll let you know he sucks. Like, I wasn't really huge on rare gold Bruno Fernandes, but once he started getting upgraded, like, whew, card was. I kept telling people, like, this when this card gets upgraded, these certain areas, it was mostly dribbling that I kept saying. If he gets upgraded in these certain areas, this card's gonna be crazy, right? But that was the case with Roberto Firmino's card, right? So I'm trying to like think of some other variables to think of when it comes to me doing the player reviews and whatnot, like and the player prices and stuff. Adam, I think for 210k was pretty cool because he's a card that is rotational or he's versatile. You know, if you want to move him to that left mid 3-5-2, you could do that. Left center back, left back, you could play any of those positions. Oh, here's something that I have to mention when it comes to AI for defenders, right? Because some people hate when I use, I'll give you guys a really good example, actually. So with Jesus Navas, when I use this card in the right mid position, people hated that. Guys, I need you guys to understand that the reason why I use players like this, who have the 4 main stats for a player that's going to play in a defensive position, I like to use him in that 3-5-2 right mid position because I want to test out his capabilities of defensive awareness as well as attacking ones if I ever choose to use him in that area, right? At some point in the game, I moved him to the center back position as well as the right back position, which he plays those positions well, but it's very obvious that his height will affect him from time to time, but he's an agile player that moves across the pitch quickly. So using a player like this in that right center back position, if you can, in a 3-5-2, excuse me, plays really, really well. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in the review as well, because that's what I do with defenders. I use them in those positions when they have those 4 main dribbling stats and pace and defending and physical, because it allows me to test out what their defensive presence is like. Another way to test out defensive presence is to aggressively use a 3-5-2 or to use a 4-1-2 where your fullbacks are also aggressive. But fullbacks being aggressive on balance instructions is very similar to left mids and right mids and comeback in defense on the comeback in defense instruction with their base characteristics, because it's just something that they do in similar ways, right? So with Nav, as I mentioned, he's pretty cool to use in that certain position. But for the price range of 142k, if you're not grinding the menu, EA does not have a good enough concept in the game through the game modes for you to consistently grind coins to get this card. Because I'll tell you guys this right now, man. It's incredibly stupid how they have it set up. They have it set up for you to spend money on the game and to do the menu stuff as much as possible because, and they actually, for the transfer market, guys, they find different ways to try to screw you guys over for investments and all that kind of stuff too. But when it comes to FIFA, a card like this that costs 142k, I just want you guys to like understand this. Stallion got 30-0 in FUT Champs, and the most coins that he got from getting that 30-0 in FUT Champs was 220k coins, right? The only other game mode that you would have to play is Division Rivals, and you have to sweat the entire time playing Division Rivals, right? Friendlies is the saving grace of the game, and this is stuff that I'm repeating that I've already told you guys before, right? Friendlies is the saving grace of the game, but once you're done Friendlies, you don't feel the need to play the game anymore because the game is not set up in a way for you to just have fun and just play normally and try out different stuff. It's just not. You can do that, right? But you obviously don't get rewarded for it at all, right? It's not even fun to do. Like, it's not even a matter of like, hey, even if I lose this game, it doesn't matter because winning is the entire premise of the game. And I can get into this rant like I did in that one video, right? But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys like my train of thought when it comes to like the coins and whether or not certain SBCs are worth it. Sometimes I just tell you guys like, hey, man, you know, you want to use a card for fun in your team, you know, I'll give you the best example, right? Oxlade-Chamberlain's card, the player moments version of his card, 400k at the time, 457k because of the current market, right? But he was 400k at the time. 400k for this card is absolutely ridiculous because I don't even think they had any SBCs in the actual game itself for you to grind for fodder to do this SBC. And it was, even if that was the case, this card is way too expensive. Honestly, on the market as an inform, I couldn't see this card costing like, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, more than like 100k. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was so ridiculous that he cost this amount. But that's not always what the player reviews are about, right? Because with Oxlade-Chamberlain, it's a +6 rating difference. This is the way that EA has set up this game, right? But it is a +6 rating difference with this card that offers you an attacking and defensive presence playing in that center mid role. So if you want to do the card for sentimental reasons, he's a good card for sentimental reasons. He's not a meta card. He's not going to move that certain way that's going to be nice on the pitch, right? If you give him that shadow chemistry style, again, he definitely moves it nice across the pitch, but he's not like really nice, obviously. But you do the card for sentimental reasons, and he'll offer you what he can, mostly playing in that, I would say, center mid role, right? Center mid like he would be for Liverpool in real life. You could maybe put him as a winger as well, but I wouldn't recommend it personally, right? So obviously, the SBC is crazy expensive, but again, that's not necessarily what the player reviews are about, because if you want to get him for sentimental value FC, like my boy Paul did for his Liverpool team, right, then he unlocked the card for that very reason, right? So that's a huge variable to consider when it comes to my player reviews. Okay, so that being said, I don't expect you guys to agree with how I do player reviews, but I'm not giving you false information from my personal experience. Cards have never felt different to me. Like I said, Japes has opened my mind up to using players like Anderson Talisca in that center mid position, because Talisca was really freaking good in the center mid position, but in the review, I never even thought of using him there. So that was a variable that I liked adding into the experience of the card. Oh, also, another thing that I have to mention, and I'm sorry if I don't mention everything that you guys usually talk about, right? But another thing I want to mention is the reason why I don't put a rating system in the game is because my mind is very like meta oriented, right? Most of the SBCs EA gives you are not meta oriented. So some of them, most of them I would give like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10 for the longevity of the game and where you want to use these players. And I feel like a rating system pushes players closer to the meta of the game instead of you focusing on what the card can offer you and how you can use them in-game and have fun with them. That's why I really hate the rating system. And I know that some people have suggested it on my YouTube channel. It's just not something that I want to personally do. You guys don't have to agree with that, but I'm fully comfortable with not doing it because I don't want the game to go into that direction. You know what I'm saying? So a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. The freeze promo. What did I think about the freeze promo? To be honest with you guys, again, I don't think the specific players they released were bad. I thought Lala was really generic. To be honest, like if you unlocked Lala's card, he was a really generic dude. My problem is that I don't think the regular game, like all of this, I don't think this part of the game is set up well enough through gameplay content and consistently getting coins like back in the day through the World Cup mode or Division 1 or Division 2, 3, 4, doesn't matter, right? For you to consistently get coins to unlock these cards. Because to be honest with you guys, all of these cards would be in my team if the game was set up a certain way. But, you know, you look at the price of these SBCs, right? And you look at someone like Serge Gnabry, which you're not going to see a lot. He's a good player, but 240k for the current setup of this game is just a lot of money. And then, you know, you even have players like Leon Bailey. People said that they didn't like Leon Bailey, but I'm like, dude, like this card, I think I gave him, what did I give him? Deadeye? Did I give him a Deadeye? I think I gave him a finisher. I feel like I gave him a finisher in the review, right? Because of the shooting boost. The shooting boost is like too drastic. But like people said they didn't like this card, and like you don't like the card because it's not meta. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you look at his traits, he has the outside foot shot trait, which is great to use. But I mean, it's a pretty good card. You know, the price isn't even that bad either for the Bayern Leverkusen link, Jamaican link, right wing position change because he is a left mid, right? Which they should have the two whatever, right? But it is what it is. Okay, so with that being said, for player reviews, just want you guys to pick at my brain a little bit in regards to that. Some of the other things that I wanted to talk about is the player reviews, right, in regards to me unlocking these cards. So as you guys know, a lot of the people who are in my Discord, my mods from my Twitch streams that have been mods for a very long time, they help me out with the player reviews. Some of these guys, I make it a huge point to never unlock a card for my sake, right? I make that a very, very massive point, but I still feel like because people are so nice to me, right? And this goes for you guys as well, because the support you guys have shown, the content here on my Instagram account, I posted like the gaming setup and you guys were amazing there, right? But over here, you guys are pretty good, right? Like in the FIFA community, if you can get like above a 95% like to dislike ratio, you're doing fine. You know what I'm saying? And 90, I'm even pushing a 95. If you can get above a 92, you're doing good, you know? But I still feel like I have this thing in my head, right? Where I still feel like they're doing some of these cards for my sake, and I don't like that concept, right? Like if someone unlocks a card, I want them to unlock it because they want it. And if they don't unlock the card, then it is my responsibility to try to get that player review out for you guys, right? So I wanted to talk to you guys about this specifically, and this is an ongoing battle that I've been having in my head for a full week, and I would love to know your train of thought on this, because I think a lot of people are not going to watch this video all the way up until this point, because it's, you know, these are things that I need to talk to you guys about. The people that hate what I do the most are the people that are probably not going to watch this video or know what my train of thought is, but I just want to have it out there so you guys can kind of get where my head's at, right? I have been thinking, not on this account, this main account, I don't want to touch this main account, right? But I have been thinking about getting a second account that has the coins on it. So that way, when a player review comes out, I don't stress about getting that player review out for you guys, right? Because I feel like I am being a nuisance to these guys for some of the players, because whether they want to admit to it or not, I still have that feeling in me, in my head, and they could say it's not the case, whatever, right? That sometimes they do it for my case, or for my case, for my benefit, or I don't even know. I can't even think of the word right now. And I just don't like that concept, right? So I wanted to have this secondary account that is strictly for player reviews, right? Now, obviously, you know the variable that I'm talking about in regards to having coins on this account. The reason why I've been having this ongoing battle in my head for a week to do this is because of me being against it for the general population of FIFA, but I'm against it in regards to FIFA points and coin buying and all that kind of stuff in general, right? But for this secondary account, I feel like it's the only option that I have for me personally, because I really don't want to spend all day on the transfer market to figure out how to make more coins to create this content, because for me, I don't buy a video game to be on the markets all day. You guys know this is the thing that I talk about all the time, and I feel like it's very important to mention to you guys. But like I said, I have been thinking about getting this secondary account that I strictly use for player reviews. Once I do the player reviews, I don't even touch the account anymore. The only time that I'll touch the account is if I specifically give it to the traders, the people that like to trade in the community. They give me like a suggestion, like, hey, Inception, you may want to buy this amount of players on the Monday, so that when the Friday rolls around, you know, you can sell them for a profit, so that way you can get like maybe another 500, 600K, so that when SBCs come out, it's easier for you to do. Stuff like that, right? Like having people that use the account probably more than I will, you know, because I want to strictly use it for player reviews. So I wanted to mention that to you guys, because if I end up doing it, I know at some point in the future, people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe Inception did this. But guys, with the current setup of the game, you know, a card like Oxlade Chamberlain is 400 bloody K, you know, 400K, guys. You know what I mean? So that's why I've been like debating on doing this. It's an ongoing battle in my head for a week. You can even ask my mods. I've been telling them like why I don't care about like spending the money. Spending the money is not an issue for me, because it's my business at the end of the day for YouTube, and you make that money back regardless, right? It's just the variable of it that bothers me, and it really irritates me that EA has gotten me to this point, because if they set up this game in a certain way where I can just play like 20,000 matches in a freaking year and I can just unlock everybody, like like if I really grinded the gameplay aspect of the game, where they had divisions like they did back in the day, and I can consistently get my coins through that, I wouldn't even be thinking about stuff like this. But I want to tell you guys this right now, there is no way I will ever buy FIFA points, because just the other day, okay, I didn't even feel right about opening this guy's FIFA points on my account when we did like the whole share play thing on PlayStation. This guy opened 15K worth 15K. So I just want to show you guys an example, because I'm from Canada and I just want to give you guys like a perspective, right? If you give 12K FIFA points to me, right? 12K FIFA points is around $133 Canadian. Guys, when I tell you, man, that if the pack weight was good or there were specific pack setups like they do in Call of Duty for you to buy a pack and you get those specific things guaranteed or whatever, don't get me wrong, I would spend the money on the FIFA points because it's my business and it would make sense. But guys, man, the packs that I opened from this guy from 100, like essentially 140, almost $140 for me worth of FIFA points is just, it's disgusting. It's so disgusting what the pack weight is like, man. And at the time, I was opening the 100K packs, and I was also opening that one they had that was the 81 plus packs. I give you like 8 different cards or whatever. And guys, his best pull was Kyle Walker from $133. I was like, what? Come on. I don't even think the guy made more than 140K from $133 of the game. Guys, I'm telling you this right now, in a lot of other games, don't get me, if you talk about like Genshin Impact is the same as FIFA, terrible when it comes to the money you have to spend to get certain things, right? But if you spend money on games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, and you try to unlock all these skins and these different things, like it's money well spent because one, it's guaranteed, right? And two, like, well, that's the guaranteed part. That's the nicest. Like, let's just say, for instance, they released SBCs and they're like, hey, Roberto Firmino is 800K. We'll give you this card if you want to spend like $100 on him. Okay, cool. I'm down. I'll pay the $100, no problem, right? But they don't have a variable like that, and I can spend all that money on the game and be nowhere near that Firmino card. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So if the loan version didn't exist, I would have already done it, guys. Because for the player reviews, 140K for each of these individual cards for me to get those reviews out for you guys. Come on, man. Or am I? What am I? A bank? Am I gonna cough up all these coins from butthole Idaho? Like I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So even the icons, if they weren't loans, how would I get the review for them, right? If EA in the future did SBCs for every single promo, whether it's Player of the Month, whether it's any of the promos, if they did loans for all of the cards, I wouldn't even be discussing about this, right? And for Freeze, I was lucky enough that they did it, but I don't know if they're going to do it, for headliners. And I don't expect these guys to give me these cards for a headliners promo. If there's an SBC and it's a card that they're not interested in, but it's like 200K, I got to get the card. You know what I'm saying, guys? So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys because if there's ever like this exposing Inception, like, guys, listen, you guys know how I am with you guys. I'm like a really, really open book. You guys know exactly where my head's at, right? Because I share everything with you guys. If you guys have some sort of problem with me, right? Or it becomes big enough of a problem where it's relevant enough to talk about, just let me know. It's very simple. Like, I have some content creators that are against the certain things that I do. Let me tell you guys something, okay? Again, when I do these play reviews, whether it's 1 game, 2 games, I'm not lying to you guys. This is my personal experience. Cards have never felt different to me after that like huge thing with like Jason using Talishka as a center mid. Like, that's a place I use cards now because of him, right? But cards have never felt different to me ever since I tried him out in that first 1 or 2 games. Ansu Fati feels the exact same. If I use him in the striker position, he's great there. If I use him in the wing position, he's great there. But left attacking mid, right attacking mid, you could even go watch the review. I probably said the exact same thing, So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Like I said, even though I made this video, I don't expect everybody to watch the whole thing. I just wanted the hardcore, right, the core part of the community to understand where my head's at when it comes to creating content with player reviews and what I want to do in the future to create more content and whatnot. Because I am an open book with you guys when it comes to this stuff. I'm not trying to use this like psychology thing where it's like, yeah, really need people to choose my side, guys. No offense to you guys, but if you don't agree with me, it is what it is. That's life. People don't agree with the stuff that you do regardless. That's just how life is. But I can tell you right now that what I do, creating content, I am fully comfortable with, right? Again, some people are not going to like the way that I do stuff, but for me personally, guys, there are better things in life to worry about. You know what I'm saying? Over than someone doing a game review for 1 game when that's their personal preference of doing the reviews when they're specifically analyzing that 1 card. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's worse things to worry about in life. I think people focus too much about what others do and not what they do. You know, like your opinion doesn't have to be my opinion. The way that I do stuff you don't have to agree with the way that I do stuff, right? But that's just how life is, really, right? So this video is long. It's like a podcast essentially. So again, I don't expect everybody to watch it. I just wanted to give you guys my train of thought in regards to how I do things on my channel and how it's not going to change because I don't need it to change. I don't need the extra stuff to do to create my content. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the secondary account that I needed to talk to you guys about because I just don't want to be a nuisance for people, and I just want to use it to create that player view, get off the account, go back to on PlayStation where I have had like the same team for like 3 months because I barely play this game from a regular perspective. Guys, my YouTube channel, I don't know if you guys have noticed, right? I don't like playing this game from a regular point of view, okay? But my YouTube channel has been the saving grace of content for me because you know why? My gameplay stuff is actually not oriented around me playing the game normally. It's me analyzing stuff. I love analyzing stuff when it comes to football and even for FIFA, right? When it comes to like watching a pro player play with like Anders and stuff. That's what I like, and that's what obviously does well on the YouTube channel with player reviews, formation reviews, tactic reviews, all that type of stuff. It's not me like, hey guys, you know, let me just hop on stream and be like these Warzone people that just like play the game normally and then they create the content like that. Like, that's just not the case with how FIFA is set up. So I have just adjusted and became accustomed to the way that the game is set up and to create content that I enjoy, that you guys may enjoy as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This render is going to take me forever, but yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I just wanted to let you guys know where my head was at with certain things for me to create the content and whatnot. So maybe this will be like a nice little podcast discussion for you guys when you're doing whatever it is that you guys are going to do. So yeah, hopefully you guys have a good one. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.